Welcome to We've Got Issues, Girl. We are a weekly podcast for women who are curious about politics. My name is Carrie, and this week, Sky is gone. She's on vacation, and I miss her so much, but I am joined by three women, the women of Plymouth, we're calling you, right? Hashtag women of Plymouth. So thank you, ladies, for being here with me today. Why don't we kick this off by you all introducing yourself? Chris, I'll throw it to you first. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're running for?
Hi, my name is Chris Corliss. I am running for Plymouth Township Board of Trustees in Plymouth Township, Michigan, as a Democrat.
Okay. Maresa.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Maresa Downs. I'm running alongside with Chris for a position as a trustee on the township board.
Great.
And I'm Nabelah Ghareeb, and I'm also running with my two good friends, Maresa and Chris, for the Plymouth Township trustee as well.
Great. So you're all running for trustee. Now there are a couple other women that are running on this slate with you. Who are those women?
Mary Starr is running for township supervisor, and Nancy Councilman is running for clerk, a position she's held before.
Okay. So Maresa, tell me a little bit about Plymouth. How big is Plymouth? Like, what are the demographics? Tell us what Plymouth, Michigan is like.
Okay, so Plymouth, well, we're running for a township position.
Okay.
Our township surrounds a small city, and we're really kind of like one community, but we're also separate entities, but we share some services and some, recreational sorts of things. It's a beautiful community. We have, I think, about 28,000 residents. Half are women, and our current board is made up of all men. So that was a big motivating factor for me. But it's a beautiful community. We've got a lot of, it's kind of a suburb of Detroit, about 30 minutes from Detroit, and about 30 minutes from Ann Arbor. So we're really nicely located. Some rural, lots of subdivisions, a lot of light industry, good schools,
Yeah, great. Awesome. Nabelah, how did you come to join this slate? Like, I want to hear from all of you about this question. Like, did you all know each other, or what kind of brought you all together to run together?
Okay, so the deal is none of us knew each other. I have seen them at some, we have a Democratic club here in Plymouth. It's called the Plymouth Democratic Club, PDC. I've seen their faces, but never knew them and knew who they are. So way back, I think it was January or February, I sort of expressed an interest, and then the pandemic hits and we all just went away worrying about being safe and the safety of family and children and the community that we live in. So on or about, I think we missed the deadline for nominating ourselves, and I went back and forth. I remember seeing emails and text messages from my two friends, both Chris and Maresa, about should we run, should we not run, finally, I even said to the BPT, should I just support one of the candidates and help them with their campaign? And then the answer was no, Nabelah, we need to see more women and more Democrats run for office. So I joined my friends, and we went in as writing candidates during the primary. So the decision was based on a couple of factors for me. One is I've always been interested in politics, but my life career didn't allow me to do any of that. So this was an opportunity for me. I'm doing a lot of independent work right now, a lot of consulting work and project management work. So this fits into my lifestyle right now. So, and I am very sure you can hear a little bit about our background. All of us are more than qualified to run for office and absolutely hold an office. I wouldn't doubt it anyway. So decided last minute, went in as a writing candidate. And my name isn't that easy. So I was worried about people spelling the name, writing the names, pronouncing the name, even talking about the name. and went in as a writing candidate. And I was very fortunate, just like my friends Chris and Maresa, we had more than what we need. I ended up with close to 511 writing for the primary, which really honestly surprised me, but I was very pleased. And decided to join my friends in the Women for Plymouth and begin campaigning together. And it's been an absolute joy ride. I'm hoping for a very positive outcome. I'm praying for a very positive outcome, but it's been an absolutely joy ride so far. And we've got the next 3.5 weeks to really kick some, you know what, to get this thing moving. And I hope you can cut that piece out. Moving in the right direction. So that's how I got into it.
Awesome. That's a great story. Chris, tell us how you got involved in this and why you decided to run.
Sure. I've had about 25 plus years in IT project management in the automotive industry, Southeast Michigan. And last September, I left the automotive industry with the intentions of launching my own business. I'm an artist owner of Graphin Studio Creations out of my home here. The plan for 2020 was to spend the entire year traveling around, going to art galleries and art shows, and getting my work out in the public eye. Well, then COVID showed up. Every gallery, every art show, every art fair has closed up. God knows when they will open again. And I was beyond frustrated by the reactions, not only on a national level, but on a local level. The lack of control, the lack of foresight just frustrated me to no end. And one day I was sitting there watching yet another news article about it. And I said to my husband, something's got to be done about this. Why aren't there women out there doing something? And he said, so go do something. And here I am. I contacted the Plymouth Democratic Club, who is a friend of ours. My husband and I have always been members or supporters of the Democratic Club here locally, but sort of backroom people, count things, hand out paperwork, but never really got up front before. And I reached out to the club, and they have been incredibly helpful, and they introduced me to these lovely ladies. And they said, by the way, they want to run too. And we formed what has been euphemistically referred to as the squad.
I love it. Good. How about you, Maresa? What pushed you to run?
So my parents were both kind of political. My mom would take me to protests. My dad was in the Peace Corps. So I always had like a little bit of an activist in me, and I volunteered for Obama's campaign, and I worked my way up the ranks as a volunteer, and I led some things. I took my kids along. I felt very proud bringing my kids to things and encouraging them to become active. And I took my daughter when Trump won, I just couldn't believe it. This is a little bit of a long story, but I couldn't believe it. And so I took my daughter, who was, I think, 11 at the time, to the Women's March. It was very empowering. She felt very empowered. And it's always been important for my husband and I both to set a good example for our kids. And all the kids were watching. And so I showed her this picture of the board, all these middle-aged white men, and she was like, Mom. So I said, well, there's an election coming up. Do you think I should run? She was like, yeah, you definitely should run. And so having my family support, the Plymouth Democratic Club support, I was a founding board member of that club back when, and I just felt like I could do this. So here I am.
Awesome. That's awesome. Tell me more. Well, you can all answer, whoever wants to answer first, but tell me more what it's like to run as a slate. I told you that I ran last year, and there was another woman that ran, but she didn't make it through the primary. It felt very odd being the only woman in like a sea of men, and also very lonely sometimes too. And I guess like my dream would be to run on a slate with a bunch of women. So tell me what it's like, and how are you guys helping each other, I guess?
Oh, I don't think I could do this alone. Hindsight is 2020. The support I've gotten from this group, a lot of, you say you want to do this, but you really have no idea what it involves. and then the instructions start flowing in like a fire hose. And these people have, provided feedback, given me insight. I bounce things off them all the time. We disagree, and then we come back together and, agree on stuff, come to common grounds very easily. I feel this has been a very supportive way to run for office.
But I also think that because we have differences, but yet we have a common goal, I think, I'm not sure, Carrie, if you know or not, but there are 4 vacancies for the trustees. There's
Okay.
people running on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, there are 4 people running, 3 men and 1 female.
Okay.
And when you look at the diversity of, and I'm not talking about diversity of gender, but I'm talking about the diversity of background that our group of women bring, it's incredible. It's, my husband and I have been living in the Plymouth Township for over 11 years right now. Maresa and Chris grew up in this community. I'm Arab American, and I come from a very strong immigrant background, and I think Maresa does too. But I also think the strength that this group of women bring is the professionalism and the professional background. When I talk about diversity, it's the diversity of background. We're all highly, highly educated with several degrees, but what we bring to the table, I think, is our background, our professional background, our family history. It's amazing. So I think from that perspective, I would feel that the strength of having us together is because of how we bounce things against each other and balance it out. And yes, I agree with Chris in some aspect. We say, oh no, why should we do this? But then we end up saying, what's the focus? How do we do it? I did that yesterday with Maresa. I stopped at her house and I said, we got to do something. And she said, chill, In a way. Yeah. I got in the car and I said, good for you, Maresa. I need to chill. So it's really this kind of support system, but yet it's a professionalism and the background and the diversity of the knowledge. And leave it to Maresa to add her 5 cents to this as well.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Well, you know what? I think we're just really a good team. And I think, many times that's how, women can lead and work together very well. We don't have, we're working very well together. We're supporting one another. And, when one needs a hand, we're there to pull them up and, share information, share duties, share responsibilities. No one, even the person running for supervisor, by the way, here she is. She's not leading every effort. We're taking turns, and it's just working out very naturally. So, and we all are kind of the same mindset that we don't need to degrade any of our opponents. We just do our best, and our record will speak for itself. So, yeah.
I also feel like you're giving an example of how you will work while you're on township too, and I think that is really important for voters to see too. I think you often don't get to see that if you don't run as a slate. And so now all the voters get to see you run as a slate, see how well you work together. And then I'm sure they're thinking they're going to work very well when they're on township together, right? Instead of each of these individual candidates who maybe are bickering all the time and fighting. And then how are they going to work together once they get voted in? So this is a very, unique situation you're in, and I think it's got a lot of value to it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
awesome.
We decided fairly early on that we were going to take the high road on things, because there is some drama happening in town. Okay. But we gather together and we're like, okay, what's the latest thing that was posted? What's the latest nasty? Okay, this is how we're going to just not look at it, and we work our way through it, So.
Is that what you were going to add, Nabelah?
I was going to say we also, I find it sort of fun when we do literature drops together. you could see the dynamic.
Mhm.
I've done it with Mary, I've done it with Nancy, and we have seen a little bit of dynamic. And I am so appreciative of having, we've all been in leadership roles where you had staffing and people and team members that are women and possibly men as well for me. And this group is really very functional. And I could see us all win this role and we could turn this township around. I have no doubt that we're going to kick quite a bit of numbers, and we've seen a lot of support in the community. I've been talking to people in the community, and I always say, hey, vote for me. I'm running for trustee, and here are my 2 friends. You need to vote for them. And I know they're doing the same. So we're becoming also family friends. We know, I know the husbands and they've met mine, and we meet at each other's homes, so we know each other from a personal perspective as well.
Yeah. I think that's great. I also want to talk more about, Nabelah, you mentioned your diversity in your backgrounds and your professional backgrounds. We've had a couple other candidates on this show talk about how at first they weren't going to run because they felt like they weren't qualified. And that's a common thing that I think women always think, that they're not qualified. One woman, very recently we spoke to, her name is Nancy Larson. She's running for state rep here in Ohio, and she was a longtime social worker. And so she thought, because, I'm only a social worker, I'm not qualified to run for office. And the more she thought about it and more she bounced ideas from people, she was like, oh wait, I'm a social worker. Like, of course I'm qualified to run for office. And so I think that women don't, we need to reframe sometimes. Like sometimes we say, oh, I'm just a mother. What do I know about running for office? Is like, no, you are a mother. You should run for office. So tell me more about the diversity in your backgrounds and what each of you can bring to this role of trustee.
Well, I've always worked in the public sector. So my strong background, I have an undergraduate degree in business and a graduate and a postgrad from University of Toledo. I was laughing with you when you said, Mom, many times.
Yeah, I went to UT too.
Yeah, I did my graduate and postgrad there in education administration. So I've always worked in the public sector for higher education. I've always told my husband, you're never going to get rich from me. I mean, when we first got married, I said, don't ever plan on I'm always going to work for either nonprofit or education. But my background has always been administrative work. I taught several courses at the university and the community college levels, but most of my work has been as an administrator. And my strength is project management. I mean, when I took a look at what trustees do and what decision making they make regarding communities, it's what I did on a different level, on a college campus. I worked for the University of Toledo, I worked for Michigan State University, and most of my final career has been at Wayne State University in Detroit. So most of my work has been pretty much operation, pretty much financial management, administrative management. So when I talk about the diversity of our background, this is sort of the strength that I can bring to the table. My skill sets are different, but also, I'm Arab American, I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was a teenager, went to high school here, and it was an experience in itself. And then got my higher education. So I really believe in the community and trustees have to represent the community we serve, whether, as Maresa said, more than 50% are women. We need to get women on that trustees. That's number one. Number two, we probably should encourage more diverse in ethnicity as well. When you take a look at the picture that Maresa showed her daughter, I also showed that to my friends, and they said, what the heck? Are those the only kind of people that live in the community? I said, no, come and visit my neighborhood. There's Pakistani, there's Indian, there's Arab Americans, there's all sorts of Eastern European just moved across the street from me. And there's a lot of people that live in the community that are, and nothing against white men with red ties, but look different than what that picture represents.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the diversity that I was talking about, not just in looks and ethnicity and background and religion, but also from the spirit of the skill sets and the background we bring.
Yeah. I also, just as a disclaimer, I can assure you white men wearing red ties don't listen to this podcast, so you won't offend any of them. Like, we're fine.
I don't really care.
Maresa, tell me,
squad. What else can happen? So,
Maresa, tell me more about your background and what you can bring to this role as trustee.
Well, so my family background, my mom also came here as an immigrant. She's from Chile, so South America. So we have some Hispanic background. My father was in the Peace Corps. He's Eastern European, but he was born in the United States. Anyways, I am a teacher. I'm actually an early childhood educator. So I taught upper grades up through middle school, but for the last maybe 8 or 9 years, I've taught preschool. And the nice thing about that is I know about treating people with respect. I know about listening. I know about taking turns, and this is how I live my daily life. So I am just looking forward to representing in a respectful way, which is something that's really important to me. And I did do the same thing. I thought I don't know if I'm qualified for this. So I messaged with different folks who know more about that position exactly. I looked into it. I watched some meetings. I looked into the folks who were currently holding those positions. And inside already knew I could, but I just, it helped to hear that. So, and I love that I'm, even if I don't win, I love that I'm setting an example for others.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. For sure. Chris, what about your background?
I just do one slight correction. I was not born in Plymouth. My entire family was. My husband and his family are all residents, long-term, lifetime residents of Plymouth. But I was born and raised in the suburbs of Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm an Ohio girl. I've been in Michigan 33 years, but I'm an Ohio girl. But we've been living in Plymouth for 25 of those 33 years. And it really is my hometown. There's just about, every enduring factor I can think of, when you think about the places you call home, is in Plymouth Township for me. I have a background in IT project management with a focus on large, critical corporate project launches. As a result, I'm used to working in $1 million projects. I'm used to looking at multiple moving parts and extremely diverse groups of people. For about 10 years, I ran a team that was spread across the world. I had team members in China, in India, in Texas, and Australia. And I was able to communicate and keep, all the plates up on the sticks, as they say, all the balls in the air. And right, when I looked at holding an office, I thought, well, hey, I'm not a lawyer. Isn't it only lawyers that run for office? And if you look at the current board, they are all some kind of attorney or lawyer. And I don't think that helps.
Yeah.
I think this community needs organizers, and it needs concerned citizens, and it needs people who can think and communicate at all levels with, different kinds of people who can feel for each other,
Yeah. I love that. And I love how each of you framed your background so perfectly. And I think that is necessary, right? We can't all just have this cookie cutter businessman, lawyer, man on council, because there's so many other people out there with different values and different backgrounds that I think would benefit so many communities, especially these smaller communities that are pretty much dominated by men all of the time. I mean, I live in one too. Mommy, I told you, is also run by all men. We're seeing a lot more women run on the national stage, in Congress and Senate, which is amazing to see. But it's these smaller offices like trustees or school boards where we really need more women, because that's where decisions are being made every day, right? And so because they've been so dominated so long by men, I think often it gives women this idea of we can't do that, or we can't run for this. So while you've been running this summer, what are some of the differences that you've seen so far, or maybe challenges that you've seen as a female candidate? Maybe we can start with Nabelah.
The most difficulty I would say is fundraising. And, I said this to someone yesterday. It's really a strange conversation I had with a very dear friend. I said to her before I even decided to run, unlike Chris, I do project management. So I make lists of things and then I check them out and say, yeah, this is right, this is wrong. So before I even before I even filed my form to run, I went to the PDC, the Plymouth Democratic Club, and asked a lot of questions. Can I see a job description? I think some of them were laughing hard at me. I said, I need to see what are the requirements, what are the job descriptions, what are the skill sets needed? I was asking the question like I'm hiring somebody. And I gathered a lot of information, but one piece of information I never asked, what it would take to run a campaign. I'll tell you, running a campaign is really hard work. And for some of us that have to get up in the morning and still go to work, it's like having one more job that you have to do. And we put our family to work as well. I know I have. My husband, George, is doing a great job helping me out in other aspects. But the hardest thing for running a campaign is finding out two things. I told someone, I need to nudge that campaign today, just a friend of mine. She said, you need to get a couple of things done, and I'll talk about them in a second. But fundraising is becoming difficult. I mean, the first few days when you put your Act Blue out and you ask people to fundraise, you get some money and you get excited and you say, oh my God, this is going to be easy. But then it gets to a point where it's not easy anymore, because no matter how many reminders you send out, it's not coming through.
Yeah.
I think fundraising is number one. That's very difficult. But the number two that I think more difficult for me is I can market a lot of things, but sometimes marketing ourselves is harder. And we tell each other like, hey, you're terrific. Thank you for doing that. Way to go, Maresa. Way to go, Chris. We comment on each other. It's really hard to sit down and answer questions for the news media about yourself, and you struggle with it, especially when they say you only have to have 45 words. What can you say in 45 words? So those, I think, are the two dynamics that I found are complicated. One is fundraising, and two, promoting yourselves. And how do you do that? Maybe it's a lesson learned for some of us.
That's interesting. Yeah. How about you, Maresa?
So the question is, what's been challenging about running right now?
Yeah. And is it, does gender influence that challenge?
Yeah. For me, I don't know. Life for me is always like about finding balance. I'm always working to find that balance between all of my responsibilities. And so far I've been able to do it. There's been a couple days where I could, I have to switch focus, but I'm back to teaching in person right now. So once the school year started, it got a little more challenging, but I've been able to get everything accomplished. I haven't really had many challenges. My family's been very supportive and helpful. The one thing is we had this idea, it was the 100th year of women getting the vote. So we had this photograph taken of us. We thought it was really cool. And we all wore white. And the other side shared our picture and has been like making fun of us for doing that. They completely just missing the point.
Wow.
So, and those folks have mothers, they have daughters, maybe they have wives, I don't know. But
Ex-wives.
But anyways, but I don't let that bother me, and I have so much positive stuff happening that I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for our team. If I had to do it like you, it would be way more challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? What are some challenges that you see as a female?
I have a unique aspect. I am a disabled individual. I have chronic health issues. And so on a day-to-day basis, I do something called spoon theory, where I wake up in the morning with just X amount of energy, and I have to disperse it across everything I plan to do for that day. This campaign has added exponentially to my list of things I have to accomplish with what few spoons I have. And so that is a challenge I face. And sometimes I feel like I'm a little more, I hold back from the group. I think if I was campaigning alone, that would be a disaster. You're campaigning alone, you have to be present 24/7, in people's media, and so they see you and they hear about you and you're out there. I couldn't have afforded to do that. I know, realistically, with the health problems that I have, if I wasn't on a team.
Yeah.
But Chris, you always remind us of the things we need to do. And I have never thanked you enough. She'll say things like this. Have you answered the questionnaire for us? Or have you answered the questionnaire for that? Did you get this? Did you answer it? I mean, I love that about someone who's also reminding me, there she is. She's always got to tell me I'm supposed to be doing something.
No, my Post-it notes, if I'm reminding you of something, it's because I'm staring at Post-it notes that tell me I'm supposed to do something.
But you don't realize how helpful that is, because for me, I find that refreshing and helpful, and I'm very thankful for that. So no matter what happened in the morning when you get up, my friend, doing that during your day does a lot for me as a person. So I am thankful for you.
Now you're going to make me sniffle.
That's awesome.
And I also believe that, I be honest, I don't have children at home. So when you see a mom that's managing, and I'm giving Maresa a lot of credit as well, when you find a mom that's doing sports on Saturday morning, and I don't know, she has like 900 jobs. And whenever we ask her for something and she'll just say, one of her children have a game or something, I'm always saying, man, it takes a very special person to be able to shovel things and be able to do all of this all at once and still manage to campaign. To me, that's whatever you do with female campaigning for office, put that as number one. Yeah. I cannot believe how multitasked these women are.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, it should be Women for Plymouth, the multitasking team, not the
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really kind of you. Well, it really takes a village. I don't believe anybody, succeeds at really anything without somebody helping them out from time to time.
Yeah.
So,
but I also don't like the negative campaigning that's happening in our community too. That's, I get excited and I get angry, but then these ladies tell me, oh, forget about it. And I just say, forget about it. But seriously, there has been some language used that I don't, as a person, I don't appreciate it. And I told someone a couple of days ago, I still live in the community. They were elected to serve. They need to be serving me, Maresa, and Chris with respect, because we are still community folks and we live here. We're residents.
Yeah.
Pay taxes, and they work for us, so they need to serve our needs.
Maresa is a teacher, and so is Mary Starr. Mary teaches mathematics.
Yeah.
High school math. Yeah. So they're very familiar with dealing with teenage boys. And sometimes it feels like the campaign material and comments we get from our competition is like, when did I end up in a 7th grade classroom?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah, no, I ran into a lot of this last year when I ran too, just the negative comments or very sexist comments about my appearance or nothing about my ideas, right? Like it was very rarely about my ideas. It mostly was surrounding my political party, my job, my qualifications. And that was something that I've worked on political campaigns a lot, and it's never really bothered me when it's happening to somebody else. But when it was happening to me, I had the hardest time not taking things personally. Even when people told me they weren't going to vote for me because of this or that or the other, that was the hardest part for me running last year, was like to not take that personally. And so sometimes those negative attacks are just, it's hard. How have you guys overcome that? How has that been a learning experience for you? Are you able to brush it off, or did it keep you up at night like it did me?
Here, I'll say I haven't had anything really slung personally at me. The woman who's running for supervisor, Mary, I think is a little bit more of a threat. Her position has more power, and so she's been targeted more than I personally have. But she is strong, smart. She's got a PhD. She's led things all her life. She's got a reputation in this community. She's known by many, many people and loved by many people and respected by many people. So I think the telling thing in all of that is that they're intimidated. And, she will be a great supervisor. So she's good for the community. And these folks maybe are upset that they have an opponent that's so formidable. So, so that's what I'll say about all that stuff.
But I think there's a magazine, Carrie. It's called The Rock magazine, and they wrote an article, and it was a really great article. And someone, my next door neighbor, who I've known for a few years now, she was telling me about it yesterday. She read the article. What the article indicated is that the Republican men, I say men, who running for office, for both the supervisor's office and all the trustees, they had a shock when they saw 5 women, and 4 of us were running as a writing campaign, and we got more than what we need. So the article was very specific about, that was like, wow, there's a surprise happening here in the community no one expected. So the article was focusing on how there's 4 women who came in last minute and went in as a write-in, and now they're on the ballot. And I think and I agree with Maresa, I didn't see the attack on me personally, but I took it that way because I took us as a group of women running for office, and whatever attack they had on our good friend Mary Starr or Nancy, I felt it was an attack on me. My husband took it personally, and he came in through the garage door. They're calling you a squad. I'm like, so what? And they have your picture. And I answered him by what I learned from the ladies. So what? And Mary, God bless her, she called, I called her to say, this is what I see. And she said, Nabelah, it's one more promotion we don't have to do. So she looked at it very positive. So that's one thing. I took the attack as a personal, even so it was not mentioning me. So anyway, but it was mentioning the group, and I think that was like, what else can they do to me? So
I had one incident occur to me the other day. A gentleman asked for one of my yard signs, and apparently he didn't talk to his wife about it, and she is on the other team. And so they're neighbors. And so it's a long story about my relationship with this woman, but I've been nothing but nice to her for 25 years, and she's only just started talking to me in the last 6 months. Anyhow, she came and knocked on my door with my yard sign, and she said, I'm sorry, but I have to give you back this sign because I can't support you because, and then she proceeded to tell me all of the lies that have been said, and I just stood there and smiled at her, thanked her, and took the sign. Have a nice day. Sorry your husband and you didn't communicate. It was like, it's no skin off my nose. It really isn't. I'm not going to take it personally. I would hope that another woman would do a little more research, but they come in all shapes and sizes these days.
Yeah.
And ages. So.
Yeah. And I think that it certainly doesn't help with, the current president and just how heated the debates are getting on the national level and how polarized everything feels. I mean, it does ultimately affect the smaller races in the local races too, even though I'm sure on the campaign trail, you're not necessarily talking about abortion or foreign policy, like things
about road repairs and parks.
Exactly. And potholes, man. Like that's all I talked about last year was potholes, right?
Yeah.
And so it's amazing how polarized things get it. But when ultimately, like when you talk about politics on a local level, it is about parks and benches and potholes. So I think you can find hopefully some common ground with people when you are talking, you know, on the local level. What are some of the things that you hope to accomplish once you get elected? Like what will be your first order of business, Nabelah, when you are a trustee?
I think because of the lack of confusion in the current administration and the information they share, I think we as a group, by the way, we have 6 strategies and we could share those with you in a minute. I think Maresa has the card so she can lift it out.
Okay.
I think I could actually bring it up and share it if you.
And I think one of the strategies is, you know, I attend their board meetings online or I go on to listen and I can't hear what they're saying. Their minutes are bullets. They're not sharing a lot of the information. I think for me, it's trying to figure out how we could do this where the community is aware of what's happening, what's going on. Putting an area that I feel that this township needs is a lot more, I don't want to call it productivity because it's not a fair word, but maybe streamline our systems and what they're doing and do some process improvement and sharing of information a little bit more intellectually. People are not stupid that live in Plymouth Township. So giving me 9 bullets that none of them make any sense does not make me a smart resident. I think sharing information, providing a little bit better financial management, streamline our processes, and doing a little bit more efficiencies in the way we do things would be the things that I would focus on.
Awesome. How about you, Maresa?
Okay, so one thing also that kind of was driving me bonkers with this current administration is during this COVID pandemic is information and how the information is distributed and how it's explained. And I get really frustrated when they just did it the other day. So we have a Democratic governor. You may have heard of that woman from Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, who I think is doing a really great job. But she has been getting pushback, and our leadership right now here in the township doesn't seem to be very supportive. They just, I don't know if anybody else saw this, their Halloween guidelines. They're taking this like really biased way of explaining things instead of just saying the facts. There's like this political, it's like they're steeping it in this Republican kind of narrative, and I don't appreciate that at all. I think that information should be just given factually, scientifically based, the most current information. What are the rules? What are the guidelines? Clear, without any their own personal beliefs about things. So that's something that I would work on is making sure that the residents get the most current information clearly, concisely, and so they can make safe decisions for themselves and for their families. We're a beautiful township. We've got some vacant land left. Not very, I don't know the exact proportion, but we have a lot of developments that are being built. Some are industrial, some are residential, but just making sure that that's all done thoughtfully. Like when a forest is knocked down, making sure we really look into what are the consequences of this action. Who's going to be affected, at what cost, for what length of time, is it necessary, is there another plot of land this place could go on, or another building that could be repurposed, or, just kind of thinking about the long-term and future generations environmentally, and then also just, financially, and just for our own health and wellness too.
Sure. Yeah, great. How about you, Chris? What is the first thing you want to take care of when you get into office?
Yes, we all focus on communication a lot. one of the most frustrating things going on in this administration is the lack of professional communication methods. Our web page, our website, they've recently upgraded, which is I want to know whose 12-year-old they hired to do it. It's the most horrible web page. The links are all broken. The the logical access to things is not there. Stuff is scattered. Stuff doesn't work. There, just all kinds of problems with that. And as an IT professional, even if it's in my past, it just burns me that has been made so complicated and so difficult. Also, the way they produce right now in the time of pandemic, they should be having live, we're doing it here, live broadcasts of their meetings. They don't have, if they want to meet in person, great, but they need better broadcasting methods than they're using. And it took the 5 of us a couple of afternoons of practice to get our methods down. Why is it, how many months later, we're still getting these awful videotapes that are scratchy and unreadable for their board meetings? And you either get the videotape after the fact, or you have to trudge down and put on your mask and hope no one, in an enclosed space, which I won't do because I have immunity issues. So, that's not going to happen, guys.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things. I have the bullets if you want me to share with you.
Yeah, why don't you email those to me, and then I can put link them on our show notes, and I'll get all your websites and stuff too, and I'll put those in the show notes and on our Facebook page too, because while we're wrapping up, one question I want to ask is how our listeners can help. I know you've already mentioned fundraising, so tell us where our listeners can make donations and what else you need our listeners to do. Is it Facebook likes, shares, phone banks? What do you need? What do you need from us?
That's a good question. I will send you our webpage, and at the top of our webpage, or is it at the bottom, no, ladies? There are links to our Facebook group, and at the top of our Facebook group are links. Actually, I think it's on our webpage too. Are links to what we call our volunteer page. If you are local, and my brother-in-law lives in Livonia, so he's volunteered. And we still have other literature drops to happen. We've got some get out the vote activities that's going to happen later in the month. Of course, there's always fundraising. Each and every one of us has a Facebook page with an Act Blue link in it. As a group, we do not have a fundraiser. We don't have a PAC as a group. It got financial. It was like we found out too late about it, what it takes. And so that didn't happen, but each of us has individual fundraising links. So I will share all of those with you. We really appreciate that kind of help.
Yeah. We have been doing, sorry, go ahead, Nabelah.
I was just going to say, Carrie, keep in mind that we didn't start campaigning until like middle of July. So we did a lot of work between middle of July and August when we had the primary. And after that, we had a kickoff and moving forward. So all 4 of us, including Mary, are new to this. And it's been a short time that we started this whole practice. So it's been definitely I would call it a marathon of getting a lot of stuff done. So I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, a marathon during a pandemic also. I imagine that this campaign is not what you had in your head what a campaign is supposed to be like, considering there's no festivals and parades to walk in and all of that stuff. So have you all had to find ways to get creative during the pandemic and how to get your message out and talk to voters?
Did a lot of walking in neighborhoods, passing out literature. We knocked on doors, Mary and I, a week ago. Had a blast. Last Saturday was a really great event. I need to talk about it because I told Maresa and Chris was there. It was such a great event. The PDC, which is the Plymouth Democratic Club, had like a place at one of our beautiful parks where people can come by and pick up signs, lawn signs. And
with
they called
it.
Yeah, I love the title. You just couldn't figure it out for a minute. But we had like
it was like a festival, a drive-through. People come up, they drive by, they say, what signs do you want? There was a bunch of volunteers. I went there a couple of times. I had a blast. I felt so empowered. All these volunteers from the Plymouth Democratic Club. It was fun, fun, fun. Other than that, Maresa's doing something really cool this Saturday, so I'll let her talk about it.
Well, yeah, so we've done Zoom events. We've done contactless literature drops. So I have knocked on some doors. I wear my mask, and but it's sort of a selective group of doors that I've knocked on. So it is a totally different type of campaign season. But this weekend, we're doing a meet and greet in my driveway. So, and so I just got approval from my subdivision. I just received a message while we were on this meeting to promote it there. But we're just inviting people, so outdoor gatherings as weather permits. Here in Michigan, it's starting to get really cold, but this Saturday is supposed to be nice. So, so yeah, that's how we're just using social media. Yeah.
Yeah.
I held a meet and greet we have locally here a first responders memorial down in the park. And I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. I was a paramedic in the Air Force. So I sponsored a meet and greet down in, it was not well attended, but it was a lovely day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. It sounds like, I mean, yeah, it's been hard. Sky and I are helping a local candidate here in Toledo, and we've had to just do a bunch of like virtual meet and greets or outside events. And it's just a different, it's a different year. But I imagine, like, we keep trying to tell our candidate that we're working with, you know, if we're struggling to reach voters, that means your opponent probably is too. So
Right.
we're all just in a weird year together. So whatever we can do to help on the podcast, we'd love to help. We've been doing 60 days of action for We've Got Issues Girl. So we've been posting and emailing every day for 60 days leading up to the election. Just different ways that people can get involved in the election, whether it's for the Biden-Harris campaign or local candidates too. So we'll make sure that you are in the cycle of emails, and we'll get you know, your Act Blue accounts out there, and then your Facebook pages too. Because sometimes just it's as simple as a couple likes and some shares really kind of goes a long way too with some of this stuff. So I wish you guys all the best of luck. It sounds like you are really kicking ass, and you've got some great ideas. And it's just really cool to see. I think we love featuring women like you, because you are all of us, and we all need to see more women step up into these roles so that we can inspire more women to do so also, because it is so important. So before we leave, let's go around the circle again. And if you want to leave us one last bit of information or action item, or tell us what you would tell a young girl who wants to be president someday, like, leave us with a little bit of wisdom before we sign off. Who would like to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, so hey, my name is Maresa Downs. I would love it if you went to my Facebook page, Maresa Downs for Trustee. Check out our website, womenforplymouth.com. A message to young girls. I have a 14-year-old daughter who is so smart, so strong, and she can lead anything she wants to. In fact, in I think 2 weeks, she and I are going to lead a local women's march here in Plymouth, or we're going to help. So don't be afraid to just get out there, and you can do anything you set your mind to, and people will love and support you. So vote for Maresa.
Awesome. Awesome. Who's next? Nabelah? Okay.
My name is Nabelah Ghareeb, and I'm running for Plymouth Township Trustee. And my message to my nieces, all of them, and you can do anything you want to do. Do not hold yourself back. And for those who are turning 18 this year, please vote. Practicing your vote. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have a little voting party with my little nieces. Voting is so powerful. And for me, I've never missed an election.
The first time I voted was the most powerful time of my life. And being in the United States where we have that right, don't hold back. Vote and support women in all aspects of political roles. Support women and vote Democrat. Am I allowed to say that? Vote Democrat.
No, you are.
Across the party line. I voted this morning. I dropped my ballot, and you cannot believe how I felt. I felt immensely just powerful. So, vote.
Awesome. All right, Chris, your last words of wisdom.
That's pretty wisdom. I want to speak to all women, and I feel somewhat qualified to do this. I'm 62 years old, so I can talk to everybody who's younger than me. If I can do this, you can do this. If you can't run this year, plan to run next time. And if you can't running this year, vote. Please don't withhold your vote. You are more important than you will ever know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. You guys are so inspiring. I'm so glad I met you. This has been really great. I wish I ran on a slate of women like you guys. I probably would have won, first of all, but it would have made it a lot easier. So thank you for joining us on We've Got Issues, Girl. We will be back next week with a brand new episode next Tuesday. We are going to be interviewing a judicial candidate running in Franklin County, Columbus, Ohio area. So we're excited to talk to her. And join us next week, and we will see you then. So thanks, ladies. Women of Plymouth, thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See ya.
Bye-bye.